It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show! Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
And Les Webster.
Hello, all.
How are you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Doing well, thanks. And you?
Doing okay. Hope everybody out there is doing all right. So, what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Not a whole hell of a lot, really. This week I've just been trying to catch up on my massive pile of trades that I'm always constantly trying to catch up on. So this week I read Norman Volume 1 and Resident Alien Volume 3, and I'm working on Hellboy and Volume 2 right now. So,
Woohoo!
try to change it up a little bit. There's a lot of darkness and death in these books apparently this week. I don't think there's any coincidence there, but you know.
Yeah.
Is the Resident Alien the Sam Hain mystery?
Yes.
That's a good story.
Yes, I agree. They're all good stories.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I've yet to see a bad story from that series. Still need to pick up
true.
4. I think 4 just came out. It either just came out or it's about to come out.
Well, how about you, Les?
I took in a movie this past weekend. Christopher Mihm was in town again.
Oh, cool.
And this time he brought Attack of the Moon Zombies. It's a very funny movie. It's an all ages. And afterwards...
Wait, what?
Yes, a moon zombie, a zombie film that's all ages. There you go.
Attack of the Moon Zombies is rated PG.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, there's no cursing, there's no violence. Any violence you have is more or less off camera. So it just adds to it.
That's an interesting idea.
It makes it cheaper, too.
Well, yeah, there's that. Fewer bucks spent on special effects every time.
That's right.
You save money on Karo syrup and red dye, so... but it was an interesting movie. Afterwards, I plunked down some money for producing credits on his next movie. And it's the DVD, of course, like I did prior. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Les, the Hollywood movie producer.
Yep, the Hollywood mogul Les.
Mm-hmm.
Here I have my name on 2 different movies. Who'd have thunk it?
Eat your heart out, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, I'm sure he's worried. But it was fun. Had a good time.
Cool.
Neat.
In addition to trying to catch up with my floppies, I took some time out and pulled out the Fantastic Four Volume 1 Omnibus, which is the first 40 issues of the series from the 60s and the first annual, if I'm not mistaken, at least the first annual. And I kind of sat down and started kind of rereading those because it's been such a long time, and frankly, I miss seeing that group together. And it was a nice little trip back. The adventures were a little crazy, but hey, that was the 60s, so it was a fun ride.
Does that one take in, and I may have asked before, but does it take in the Daredevil story? A blind man will lead them, or shall lead them?
Yeah.
Among others?
Yeah.
Plus the introduction to the Inhumans?
Inhumans are actually in Volume 3, if I'm not mistaken. Because they were more... You talking about Inhumans and proper? Yeah, they were like in the 80s.
Well, I'm talking about the Madame Medusa and Black Bolt.
Yeah, those were like in issue 80s, somewhere in the 80s. And like I said, this is up to early 40s. I mean, this doesn't even have the first appearance of Surfer and Galactus. That's in volume 2.
Oh,
which
okay.
is which I need to buy. So, if I'm not mistaken, the first appearance of like Crystal and Black Belt and all of them is like early, like issue 81 or 2 or something like that. So I may be mistaken, but I know it was not in that first volume.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else been going on? I know Les and I attended our local sci-fi group meetup, which was fun as always. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
Like I said, pretty kind of a nice, boring weekend for a change for me.
Nice little relaxing time. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds cool.
It's too bad the weather was so bad.
Oh, it was nice today. But
It was nice all weekend.
If you like damaging winds and burning eyes from the pollen and stuff in the air, it was great.
Oh, yeah.
I stayed in a house.
That was a good thing. That was a wise thing to do. Alrighty. Before we get into this week's topics, need to take a couple of minutes to say thank you to our sponsors for their support. First off, we want to say thank you to Peter Smitty and Make My Indie, the independent digital catalog. Winter catalog's out now. It just came out mid-December, if I'm not mistaken, Mikey.
Yeah, it came out on the first day of winter.
Okay, so it's been out for a month now. If y'all have not checked it out, if you go to our website, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net, click on the sponsors tab. There's a link there that will take you to where you can download a free copy. It's about 138 pages, if I'm not mistaken, of assorted titles of publishers that you have not heard of, but some really interesting stories. There's also some reviews. There's some interviews with some of the creators. Some of them have 2-3 pages of art previews for the stories. It's a nice little book. I highly recommend you checking it out and take a look at some of the stuff that you weren't aware of that's out there. I know we weren't until this came along, so I think this is a pretty cool little catalog.
It's a very handy resource.
Exactly. That's the words I was looking for, so thank you. I also want to thank Things from Another World for being a sponsor of the Fellowship. Some of the deals they are running right now, they're doing a $1 back issue sale, and that's good till the end of February, as well as assorted sales such as like Game of Thrones glass sets that are normally $19.99 are now $12.48. Those are good until the end of January. There's also their evergreen deals, such as 40% off on assorted comics, statues, toys, and merchandise. 30% off selected pre-order manga titles. And the always really cool deal of 50% off Nick and Dent comics and graphic novels. So while you're on our sponsors page, just scroll down to the bottom, click on one of those images or Things from Another World. That lets them know that we sent you their way, and please take advantage of some of these awesome deals that they have.
Yeah, what he said.
yeah, what I said.
Yeah.
Here comes that bus.
Mm. Alrighty, for this week, It's a little bit of a reindeer game. We hadn't had a reindeer game in a while, so
Yeah, I know we've been all serious lately. Jeez.
yeah, let's have a little. Well, I think we had a little fun last week with Ashley. That was a nice little interview.
That was fun. Yes, it was entertaining.
And major congratulations to her and Jason. They've already met their goal. They met it in less than a week. But there's still a chance if you're interested in supporting such a cool book. Please do.
Just because they've met their goal doesn't mean you can't still get it. In fact, what it
Yeah,
means is that it will definitely fund, so you will
it
definitely get something.
yeah
So,
it will happen. So
yes, it's real.
so
It's going to happen now. So,
yeah,
go get in on it while you can. They're in the process of coming up with stretch goals to make it to sweeten the pot even more.
that's right. So,
So go get in
so
there.
yeah, I need to do it myself.
Yes, you do. I did.
hmm Yeah, I know you did. I saw that, and I'll probably do it right after we get through recording. But for this week's episode, give you a little background of how I came about this. I guess it was New Year's Eve. I was reorganizing stuff, and I came across my copy of Batman 66, the Lost Episode one shot that DC put out. I guess it's been about a year now, less, something like that.
A little more, yes.
Yeah, one year and a half, somewhere in that time frame.
Uh-huh.
And for those who are not aware of it, it was a one shot that basically adapted a script from Robert
Harlan Ellison.
Harlan Ellison. Yes, thank you. It was going to introduce Two-Face into the Adam West Batman TV series.
Wow.
And
The idea of Harlan Ellison writing for the Batman 66 series, that's somewhat mind-blowing.
it is. But looking at the cover, I was reminded of, and I've never found out whether this is true or not, and since it was all kind of speculation, and since there was no ever confirmation, I'll probably never know the whole deal of it. But supposedly, the producers were looking at Clint Eastwood to play Two-Face for the series.
Really?
Yes. And of course, now that people, of course, when I say that, people think of a certain image of Eastwood, but you got to remember back at this time, if I'm not mistaken, he has not at this point in his life and career, he has not flown over to Italy to do the Man with No Name trilogies.
Yeah, this is pre-spaghetti western. This is
This
pre-Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all he really had was Rawhide under his belt.
And
I'm
the
not
Creature
mistaken.
movie.
I'm sorry?
And the Creature movie.
Okay.
Creature Walks Among Us, I believe.
Okay. Was not aware of that. Okay. Cool. So there was not much to his career at this point. So, but obviously it never happened. But it kind of dawned on me thinking about, if the show had gone on just a little bit longer, what other characters they would have introduced and who would have played those roles? Because there's some very interesting names. There was interesting celebrities, guest stars that were on that show that played villains. It was the thing to do at that time because it was so popular. Everybody was chomping at the bit to want to play a villain on Batman. So I thought, just to have a little fun, to say, okay, in our what if scenario, the show continued, and let's cast another season or two of Batman. So with that, let's go ahead and drop some of the names that we came up with. Who wants to go first, or y'all want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Start it up.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Mikey.
All right. So, and I will admit, I did not pay a whole lot of attention to time frame for this. So it's possible I may throw one out here that didn't exist yet in 1968, approximately when season 3 of that series would have come out.
Right.
But one villain I thought would be interesting to see in that series, and one, admittedly, on my list, this I think is the most plausible, was Poison Ivy.
Mm-hmm.
And the person that I thought of, and I actually thought of the actress before I thought of the character, but
Okay.
Jill St. John. And
Okay.
I admit the mental image I have of her is from Diamonds Are Forever, which came out in '68, so it would have been about right. But I mean, she spends most of that movie, not all of it, but most of it as a redhead.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, if you've not seen that movie, she pulls off brassy like you wouldn't believe. And I think that would have been an interesting way to play Poison Ivy.
I'm sure Les will say something. She was actually in the premiere episode of Batman.
Yeah.
She
died.
Her character died. Yeah.
Did she? Poison Ivy?
Yeah. No.
No.
No. Jill St. John.
Jill St. John.
So yeah, that would be cool. I mean, to bring her back as a recurring villain, Poison Ivy, that would work.
Yeah,
that would work for me.
Admittedly, you'd have to be careful with the costume because
Yeah.
Ivy's gotten a little on the risque side in later years, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
I think she would have done a really interesting job of that.
I have Poison Ivy as well, but let's go to Les first.
I wondered how much.
No, go ahead.
I wondered how much crossover we'd have on these.
No, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal.
No, go ahead and follow, Thomas.
Okay.
Who'd you have?
My choice for Poison Ivy, I thought it would have worked since she was already doing kind of slapstick comedy at the time. Tina Louise, Ginger from Gilligan's Island.
Huh. I can see that. If you're going to go with the sultry version. Sure.
Yeah, if you do the sultry version, and of course she's done I mean, granted, Batman was a little bit more satire than Gilligan's Island, but she could do it. She could have done it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I wonder. I find myself. I mean, given that it's the late '60s, they might. But I find myself wondering how sultry they would go for that show. Just given the level of I mean, it's. I don't know if it was aimed at kids, but that was a lot of the audience at the time.
It could have been. It could have been lightened up a little bit, but I mean, you got to remember how tight the Catwoman costumes were too.
Yeah, and the Batgirl one too.
Yeah. So.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I think
so,
I actually do think that's another good choice for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not arguing. I'm just.
No, I know you weren't arguing. You were just talking about the time how the show was going, and
which was why I went with the brassy option, because I figured attitude, because Ivy she can get some attitude at times, but
The women on that show were cast because of sexuality, and if I were to do that character, or recast the character, I would say, let's just go outlandish and have Bridget Bardot do the part.
That would be interesting. I
can't argue with that either.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
The majority of the women on that show were cast because of their looks, no doubt. And they had to have a comedic timing to them. And it just came to me, Bardot would be somebody that could possibly do that.
Well, I think all three choices could have done that.
Oh, I think they're all strong.
Yeah, all of them could do the sexy look, and then all of them could do the comedic. I think they were all really good choices.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, another name that had popped into my head about some of the stuff was Raquel Welch.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Yes, and I agree. Another one is Joey Heatherton.
Hmm.
So a lot of good choices there. Alrighty, Les.
I'm going to calm it down a bit.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking, and this is too obvious, I'm sure, but Michael Dunn playing Hugo Strange. I just have a feeling that he could manipulate it enough, just like he did Dr. Lovelace on Wild Wild West.
Okay. The name was not ringing a bell for me right then.
Yeah, I was furiously looking him up. But yeah, oh yeah, totally.
He was also on Star Trek
Mm-hmm.
and
He was all over
multiple
TV
other
in
things.
the 60s, right?
Yes.
Totally. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. That would be an interesting choice. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being honest because I actually thought it was strange too, but I kind of went in a different path. It would have been interesting to see him do comedy because I've never seen him do it, but I'm a big fan of his work. Mark Leonard,
Okay.
who was Sarek on Star Trek, and was also
Another guy who was everywhere.
yeah, he was everywhere.
He was a character actor all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
It would have been It would have been interesting to see him try to do a little bit more of a comedic. And if I think he would have done it. I mean, it's not as good as choice as Les, but I think it would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
I also looked at the character and went the manic route and thought of Alan Arkin.
Ooh, okay.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have.
Manic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could totally see that.
Totally.
Totally.
For sure.
Alrighty. So for my first choice, it would have been fun to see this. Solomon Grundy. Now, who would you think would work as Solomon Grundy?
At that time,
Mm-hmm. Because we
Ted
kind of
Cassidy.
there you go. That's exactly who I picked. And for those who are not
was Lurch, right?
right, Lurch. If you look at Lurch, he's essentially Solomon Grundy, except for Solomon Grundy, he's a little bit more muscular,
Yeah.
but still.
Huh.
Yes.
That is very interesting.
And it would have been fun to see him kind of. And of course, this is another actor who it's so funny that some of these that we're picking were on so many different shows, guest stars on these shows at during this time, and that's actually what helped me with some of my choices because I was going, okay, who was making the circuit at this time? Go, okay, that works, yeah. So obviously, I did a lot more work than y'all did. I put way too much work into this.
Yeah, that's the deal. It's not that we didn't put enough work in.
Yeah. I rephrased that. I kind of went a little bit forward with it, but that's okay.
That's
This was fun.
Right.
It
You
was
were having
fun.
That's the important part.
Okay. So, Mikey, who do you have next?
All right. So this is a character that I thought would be interesting in the late 60s. Mainly because of at the time, the growing drug culture. I thought Scarecrow would be a fun twist. Admittedly, he's a little dark. Most of the time I've seen him anyway. But I thought it would be an interesting. You could use the moral. This is what, because I mean with Batman and his morals and all of that. This is what drugs can do to you. It can really mess you up, and it cause you to do all kinds of weird stuff, and it could be twisted for all kinds of fun effect. But the actor that sprang to mind was Chuck Connors, because not only is he tall and kind of gangly, but he could act.
Yeah.
And so you could get all kinds of, you could get all kinds of range out of the character.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I can see that.
Who'd you come up with for Scarecrow?
I couldn't. I was sitting here going, okay, I don't believe me. I had Scarecrow listed, but I was going, I just wasn't sure who to go with. But that's a good choice. That is a very good choice.
I agree.
Did you come up with somebody, Les?
No, I hadn't really approached that character.
Okay. So who's your next casting decision?
I have always been fascinated with Kirk Langstrom, Man-Bat.
Okay.
And to me, you needed somebody that was just a bit off kilter. And that's why I looked at Anthony Perkins.
Okay.
He has done, of course he did Psycho, but he also did Fear Strikes Out, which was another instance of a mind game. And I just the way he was frantic in those two movies makes me think of him as a fit for Kirk Langstrom.
Okay. That's an interesting choice.
I could see that. The makeup would be the tricky part with that show. With that show for that.
Yeah.
How would you make?
I'm thinking that you don't see him proper though. You may see a close up like in the Willis O'Brien King Kong, where you see the face as a real thing, and the rest of the time it was all animated.
Just a dude.
In this case, you may see his face in makeup, and the rest of the time you would see maybe the wings or something flying over through the sky, rather than just head-to-head combat.
Okay.
Or you could do like the dude in the Godzilla suit, like they would do in the
Sure.
Godzilla movies. They just make a suit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like I said. I mean, even that would be pushing it for a budget for what's effectively 2 half-hour episodes. But you could do it. It would look good enough for your purposes. You're not using it to strike fear, so it doesn't have to be too much. But
Okay. Yeah, that'll work. My next choice. Let's see. Who am I going to go with? All right. I'm picking Clue Master. And for those who are not familiar with the character, he was a former. Not sure how they handle him now, but back in the day, during this time, he was a former game show host that turned to a life of crime. And so for my choice, I picked an actor I really only known from being on all the game shows back in the 70s and early 80s. Well, not in early 80s because he died like in 78. Bobby Van.
Was he a host?
No, he wasn't a host, but he was on game shows during the 70s. But he was an actor in the late 60s.
I am going to say good choice in the respect that you did not go to the route of a game show host playing a game show host.
No, I wasn't going to do that. So other than that, I think it's a bad casting choice, huh?
I say it's a good choice. I remember seeing Bobby Van on Match Game and some other stuff. So.
Oh yeah. He had the kind of the game show host look, so it kind of fits. So, but yeah, I didn't actually pick a game show host. Honestly, I didn't even think about that route. I probably should have.
That would have been
That would have been fun. Yeah. Hey, Gene Rayburn. There you go.
Sure, why not?
Why not?
No.
You said game show, and I'm not going to lie, the first thing I thought was Charles Nelson Riley. And I'm like, not for, I don't know about for Clue Master, but given his style, I could almost see him on that show. I'm not sure what he'd be playing, but I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I hate to push this, if for some reason Frank Gorshin couldn't do Riddler, you could almost have CNR fill in for him. Almost.
Okay.
Almost. Just for sheer manic style.
Was it John Astin that replaced him at one time?
I think so. That sounds familiar.
Is that right, Les?
Yeah.
Gomez?
Yep, that's who it was.
You replaced him one time. I mean, it's happened because, I mean, we've had 3 different Catwomans and 3 different Mr. Freezes on that show, so.
Yeah.
So,
How about Alan Ludden?
That depends. Who the hell is Alan Ludden?
I know who Alan Ludden is, but man, he seemed a little square to me. But who knows? I mean, he could have worked. Alan Ludden, during this time, he was married to Barry White, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yes.
He was. Or so says his Wikipedia page, which I just pulled up.
Woo! Okay.
Anyway, that was not really one of my picks.
That's fine. That's fine. I did, like I said, I was going through Silver Age villains, so Mikey, you got another one?
Yeah, I didn't want to lift Riddler because I still think of Frank Gorshin as the classic Riddler. Yeah, I got another one. And this is another one that might be a little too, well, if not too dark, then definitely too complex.
You sure did go the dark route, didn't you?
I don't know why that happened. Maybe because that show was just too friggin' happy for my taste.
Okay.
So I'm trying to darken it up a little bit, I guess.
All right.
That's what you get for reading Norman.
Yeah, no kidding. Norman and Hellboy and yeah, all in one weekend. And,
yeah.
Yeah, there's some darkness there. But anyway. Yes, I went with Ra's al Ghul for my choice, and I actually have a couple of options for this. I still think the one I prefer is Ricardo Montalban, because you got to don't think of him in terms of Fantasy Island. You got to think of him in terms of Khan from the Star Trek original series. Think of a younger Ricardo Montalban, because there's still he can do that menacing thing, and that for some reason I associate the Ra's al Ghul with menacing. He can just stare at you, or he can just oh man, yeah. I think he's the one I prefer. I mean I have another option, but
Well, who's the other option?
Michael Ansara.
Okay.
Who's nearly as intense. And honestly, you could go either way, but I like Montalban. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what kind of story you would have for him in that show. But either of those guys, I think could do it.
Yeah.
If you have the introduction of the Assassin's League, I think that would be nice. Him being the head of the league.
Yeah.
How do you make that campy? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Biff, bam, pow.
Right, but I mean, Biff Bam Pow loses something when you start talking about assassins. Right. And I mean, the flip side of that is that, I mean, assassins is something that has become in vogue since then. Not to say it didn't exist then, it did, but I don't know. It would have been an interesting turn in terms of the development of the concept of assassins in popular culture. for it to have gotten a foothold in something like Batman in the 60s. That might have been enough to make it take a different path, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only drawback was the character wasn't really created until '74, but
No, and I knew
yeah,
that was coming. I knew
but
at least one of these was that way.
But that's exactly who I had too. I had Rage and I had Ricardo Montalban for the same exact reasons, was because of his performance as Khan. Because I could just see him standing there and talking and calling him the detective and all that. I saw it.
Yeah, you can in his voice, you can just hear it.
In his voice, you can just hear it. But yeah, I had kind of the same things. It's like, how can you do it? How could you do it without really hurting the character by kind of not necessarily dumbing it down, but make it more comedic and that kind of thing? That you're really,
you seriously you'd have to dumb it down and like turn up the brightness about 7 notches just to get rid of the darkness. And it would just be another villain coming out of nowhere and just being. I mean, he'd have to be like Robin Banks or some shit. I don't know.
Either that or just for that particular story arc, the show goes dark, and that's one of those that that's a character you don't bring back every 2-3 months. That's one you pull out once a year if you can do it. Something, this is just a one-time deal. You bring him in and then he disappears.
Right. I mean, you'd almost do it as an experiment to see if you could take the show a little dark.
Right.
And see if you could sneak something past the censors.
But that would definitely be one of those that at the time, the viewers at the time, and I'm sure Les could testify, that would be a WTF.
Yeah, totally.
If you saw something like that going on after Cesar Romero and Frank Gorshin and Burgess Meredith basically dancing around, acting like fools, and then all of a sudden Ricardo Montalban shows up. Yeah, that's definitely a totally WTF.
Yeah, because the villains in that show were not menacing.
Right.
Not in any way. They were nuts.
Yeah.
But they were not menacing. And that's what you want Montalban for.
Yeah.
That's what I want him for, anyway.
I had the same thoughts too. But I had the same kind of reservations, like how would this work? How would you do this without really hurting the character?
Yeah, and honestly, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't. It would hurt the show. It wouldn't just hurt the character. You would destroy the character, and it would hurt the show.
Yeah.
But man, it would still be fun.
It would have been awesome to see. Yes. Alrighty, Les.
Well, I was looking for a character, Cassandra Cain. And the nice thing is she would not have to speak. And I was just trying to pigeonhole somebody or cast somebody in that. Did you have anybody for that, Thomas?
No, because I was looking. Cassandra Cain's a little bit more of a recent character, isn't she?
Yeah, but so is like Deadshot and some other characters.
Well, Deadshot was around during the 60s, according to the list I was looking at.
Okay.
But I mean, go ahead and say your. I mean, that's fine.
Well, the person that I came up with, Laurie Matheny. She was an actress on a TV show called Legs. And obviously she would be too old, or she'd be too young to play the role. Let's just say that. But I was looking, let's go this route.
Okay.
I was looking at the ventriloquist.
Okay.
And the ventriloquist is a hapless comedian. And I was thinking,
plenty of those out there.
Yeah. And one that, to me, that could play a hapless comedian convincingly would be Joey Bishop.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That may be a little outlandish, but for some reason, that one kind of hit.
That would work. I
I
think that
could,
would work.
yeah, I could see that.
Did you guys have anything on that, or?
No, I didn't.
Mm-mm.
Um, Another one I had was Blockbuster. And y'all remember the villain Blockbuster, which is basically another big muscle-bound character.
Yes.
My choice was Richard Kiel,
Boy, you went for the tall
Jaws.
guys in this, didn't
Well, I was
you?
looking at villains from the 60s.
No, yeah, a lot of big guys. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I
ano-
could see that happening.
another
Yep.
one he might be fun for would be Killer Croc.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
hmm Actually, the three tall men that you talked about could fit any one of those three roles too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. Y'all have any other casting choices?
No, that's really all I've got. I know you've got
Okay.
more.
Yeah, I got a couple more, but I didn't want to talk all the time. But
Oh, we'll chime
okay.
in.
Les, do you have any other choices?
Did you have anyone for Deadshot?
Yes, actually I did. Robert Culp.
Huh.
Okay.
That could be interesting.
I was going the route of Eastwood. I know that they were talking about him as
Yeah, that,
Two-Face,
that would that would work as well.
but you almost could rely on any Western close to that time to find somebody.
Well, you say that. Don't get hung up on the gun thing.
No, but you want somebody that's, if you're going the comedic route, I would either say Jack Kelly or, oh, who was his brother on the Maverick? James Garner.
Yeah.
As a comedic look at it.
I can see
Well,
that.
Robert Culp could. Yeah, I could see that. But Robert Culp could do comedy at the time too.
Yeah, I mean, I Spy was a couple of years later, but
Yeah.
there was some comedy in that show,
Yeah.
and it wasn't
Okay.
entirely Bill Cosby.
Right.
You got to have
But
some.
yeah, I mean those are good choices as well. Very good.
Well, let's turn it for Deadshot and go with Cosby.
I don't see why not, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't either.
He established himself as an actor
Hmm
with I Spy. So, and
As a
obviously
relatively
he's
serious actor at times. I mean,
Yeah.
an actual
yes.
actor with like some talent. Absolutely.
hmm I agree. Here's one that might get a little chuckles out of you, but at the time he was in one or two comedies, although he was more of the straight man. But my choice for Catman would have been Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah. See, at this point, they still hadn't figured out he could be funny.
That's true. That's true.
He,
This could have been a big break for him.
Yeah,
yeah, this could have
but
been.
I mean, but at this time he'd already been in the Reluctant Astronaut starring Don Knotts, so he was already a straight man in a comedy, although he had funny lines as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously would have been a decade before Airplane, which basically gave him a brand new lease
Yeah,
on
totally
in his
revitalized his
career.
career. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure, why not? I could see it.
yeah.
Very good.
Now we've all done villains, but I actually came up with some choices for heroes too. People may think about just the fact that that you had all these guest stars playing villains and stuff, but there was actually, Green Hornet spun out of Batman, and of course we had Batgirl, and there was a attempt to spin her off into her own show. So I kind of did some casting for some heroes.
Cool.
So for this first one might get some chuckles, but we'll see. Superman, Clark Kent. My choice, Peter Lupus from Mission Impossible.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, the original. Oh God, what was his name?
Nordberg.
It was on Nordberg, the original Nordberg. Yes.
Yeah, Nordberg from the Police Squad series.
Police Squad. Yes.
I could see that. I could totally see
Yeah.
that.
Because he definitely had the frame, and if you kind of keep on the whole thing of the fear of the show, then it would make total sense that he would just walk in with glasses, and everybody goes, "Well, where does Superman go?"
I mean, and just to ham it up just a little bit, you have Robin like looking around the room, kind of standing like off to the side from Batman, and just like looking around, like, where'd Superman go? Just
It
because
shows what true detectives they are.
That's right.
he would be the one you'd have to play the sap with because you couldn't do it with bats.
Right.
Yeah, I could buy that. I could totally.
Good choice.
And for my choice, of course, if I do Superman, I gotta have Lois Lane there. So my choice for Lois Lane was Suzanne Plachette.
Yeah, I can see that too.
I'm not sure. Just in the fact that her character on television was so scatterbrained to begin with.
Yeah, you don't have to play it that way though. It's a different show.
Well,
Yeah.
let her be the serious one.
Let her be the serious Lois Lane.
Yeah.
The serious straight man.
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
Yeah.
I mean, another option for that, and this is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but another option for Lois Lane would be Mary Tyler Moore.
Yep. That would work.
Again with
She always.
again with the brassy, but
Yeah. She obviously had the comedic chops, so.
totally. Yeah, with her you could do a less serious Lois Lane without her being a ditz.
Okay. Yeah. Just to have her say, "Oh, Clark."
I kind of
One
figure
time.
you're going to do that. Alrighty. That's the only really super powered hero I had chose because I figured a lot of this was going to be some of the other ones would be really kind of hard to pull off at that time. But I actually came up with an actor for Green Arrow, and this is up for the debate. That's fine, but you got to think about the time frame too. Robert Redford, because at this time,
Yeah,
the time frame that we're talking about, Barefoot in the Park was out in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is pre like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid
Oh yeah,
by a few years. Yeah, he was still relatively fresh-faced.
Mm-hmm. And he could definitely pull off the millionaire Oliver Queen and then put on the green suit and go out and do bow and arrow and all that.
Sure.
It would be fun to see him in Peter Pan slippers.
Oh, let's not get hung up on the. Although honestly, if you're gonna do Green Arrow on that show, yeah, you're gonna have to go all out with the elf shoes.
Yep.
There's just no other way to do it. You gotta just to camp. That would be the camp thing. I mean, you would have he would look like friggin' Robin Hood, straight out of friggin' Errol Flynn.
Mm-hmm. And of course,
to
have the two of them go after. Was it Art Carney that played the evil archer? I can't remember the character's name.
Yeah, the archer.
The archer? Was it? Okay. What?
Right.
How original!
Yeah,
hey,
they wasn't a stretch or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, why not?
Would you have anyone play Speedy?
No, because I was going to actually have him team up with Black Canary. And my choice for Black Canary was Anne Francis.
Was Anne Francis on the show, though, at one time?
I mean, we were going to have Jill St. John come back to play Poison Ivy, so...
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
let me look it up. Let me look and see if she was on the show. But I figured with her had played Honey West and all that it would make sense that she would turn around and play. She would be a good choice for Black Canary.
Okay.
Looking it up right now.
I don't see it.
No.
Nope.
And actually, of this time frame, it would have been just after Honey West was off the air.
True. So she had established herself well on television.
Mm-hmm. Those were pretty much my choices. I mean, I came up with some villains that were not necessarily super Batman, but I may leave that for doing a follow-up. Like maybe take our casting of Superman and Lois and do a spin-off off that.
Yeah. Are you looking at the Adventures of Superman, the George Reeves?
Yeah. No,
there are so many villains that you could use because they didn't use villains.
No, but I was thinking about like taking my choice of Peter Lupus and using that as a spinoff. Maybe not necessarily Suzanne Plachette. I mean, we could go another route with her or something like that, but kind of do it's a spinoff of the Batman show, like Green Hornet was.
Yeah,
and what we can
I understand.
Well, we can deal with that later.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, I just thought of that.
No, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we can work with that.
Mm-hmm. Or we can do anything.
Just as an afterthought, potential Green Lantern, Robert Vaughn.
Ooh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing that in there.
That would work. Cool. Well, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of figured it would be.
If nothing else, it lets you two show off your encyclopedic knowledge of Batman. But anyway.
Well, certainly him, because he's the bigger Batman fan than I am.
Yeah, well, I'm perfectly comfortable coming in third on that competition. I'll take the bronze medal there.
Okay. All right. Any final thoughts before we move on? Yeah, I definitely want to do stuff like this again. Maybe not necessarily, just anything.
We can figure some stuff out to do this.
Yeah.
With. No problem.
Yeah, this was a blast. I had fun trying to come up with this list.
Yeah, so it would seem. Jeez.
Alrighty. With that, when we come back, we'll have our weekly picks. And we're back. It's time for weekly picks, and leading off is Les.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to look first at The Spirit, The Corpse Makers, number 1 of 5. Dynamite Entertainment is putting this out. Written and drawn by Franco Francavilla. In this one, there's a series of disappearances and deaths in Central City, but the police don't see any connections between the victims and therefore file them as runaways or natural death. But the Spirit enters the investigation on these when somebody close to Ebony White disappears. I am a big Spirit fan, and I'm also a Francavilla fan, so I got a feeling that he's going to do some outstanding stuff and put a great twist in this series.
Yeah, I saw that,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize he was the one doing it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in now.
Yeah. I knew he was doing that, so I figure it's going to be a fun ride. It'll be cool to see how he handles the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. I'm up next, and my first choice is Vampirella #0 from Dynamite Comics, and written by Paul Cornell and art by Jimmy Broxton. And they are relaunching the Vampirella book, and apparently the twist on this new series is we are going 1,000 years into the future, and she's going to be apparently waking up, and then or she's returning to the world. And it's 1,000 years later, so now she has to deal with what has happened in that time frame and all that, and that's going to be an interesting twist. And of course, it's Paul Cornell. God, what has he not written? He's does a lot of writing of Doctor Who, both books and comics. This should be a lot of fun, I think.
And it's an issue 0, so it costs a freaking quarter. So go pick it up.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I too am in on this one. I was just curious, have they not done the Vampirella in the Future story before?
I am not intimately familiar with the history of Vampirella comics, but I believe so. I believe they have done stuff with her in the future before.
Probably.
Back in the day.
That's not going to make me stop getting this book. It's just a question I had.
Yeah.
Even if they had done it before, it's Paul Cornell. So.
Right. Yeah. I looked at it and I was like, oh man, they're rebooting Vampirella, because I like what they've done with Vampirella recently, and so I was like, I don't want them to reboot it. And then I saw who was writing it. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. And now he writes the Doctor too, also, right?
Yes.
Could she be transformed by the TARDIS to the future?
Oh God, that would be an interesting crossover.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a very interesting crossover. It would be a very weird crossover.
Definitely a weird one.
I'd want to see it, but
especially if he's writing it.
Oh, totally.
Alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. I'm gonna break ranks here and not do a Dynamite book first. I'm gonna do an IDW book, and the book I am doing first is Jim Thompson's The Killer Inside Me. This is issue 5 of 5, so we are coming down to the wire here. And if you are not familiar with this, it is based on Jim Thompson's novel The Killer Inside Me from the 50s or 60s. I forget which off the top of my head. But yeah, this is the story of a small town deputy who has an interesting way of looking at things, to put it mildly. This is a much darker story and a much more psychological story than you would expect from that time frame. Think in terms of like maybe The Talented Mr. Ripley or Strangers on a Train sort of vibe. Definitely there is a Patricia Highsmith vibe going here. It's a very interesting story, and like I said, this is the last issue of it, so it's been a lot of fun to read.
I have to get caught up on that. But I read the first issue and I said, this is really good stuff.
Yeah, and it has stayed good.
This is one of them that I kind of missed out on, so I'm going to have to go back and check it out. I've heard some good things about it, though. Alrighty, Les, you're up again.
My second choice, I have a question, guys. Have you heard of Paper Girls?
I think somebody's mentioned that on this show once or twice.
Maybe so. Number 11 comes out. It's an Image book, of course. Brian K. Vaughan writing, and Matthew Wilson is the artist. It's a new story arc. They kind of left you hanging in the last story arc, but in this one, the girls, Aaron, Mac, and Tiffany, finally reunite with KC, their missing partner. But they also find that there are new threats in this unexpected era. So if you have been following, and hopefully you have, latch on to this one, because I've got a feeling they're going to start a new roller coaster for you and make you scratch your head at least twice in the next story arc.
Cool.
Yeah, I have to admit, I never really got into Paper Girls. I should look into it again.
If you like aliens, time travel, Paper Girls, Secret Service, all of this appear in Paper Girls. And it is highly worthwhile to sit down and read the first two collections. They are available now. So I would say that may be your point, or your starting point, and this will be a point to jump on after reading those two books.
Okay, cool. My second choice is from Boom Studios and DC Comics as well. It is the crossover Planet of Apes Green Lantern. Written by Robbie Thompson. Art by Barnaby Baginda. I'm sure I mispronounced that. I'm sorry. Apparently, Cornelius goes trying to find what happened to Taylor, and apparently comes across the Green Lantern ring. So he finds it, and then that's when the Guardians of the Universe are going to get involved, and of course you got to have Hal, and you got to have Sinestro, and you got to have all the others show up. So this is going to be interesting. Some of the other crossovers that have been done recently have been, I thought they shouldn't work, but they did. I liked the Star Trek Green Lantern, the original crossover, and the one that's going on right now. I really loved the Planet of the Apes Star Trek crossover. That was another one that I thought this shouldn't work, but it did, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And for nothing else, the fight between Taylor and Kirk, that's worth buying the trade alone. Because so you're seeing the likeness of Charlton Heston battling the likeness of William Shatner, and so I mean, come on. But this looks kind of interesting. I definitely love the covers that they've designed for the first issue. One of them invokes an old DC Showcase cover, and then one of them, of course, is a take off the now classic scene at the end of the movie with the Statue of Liberty and all that. So, spoilers for a movie that's 40-something years old. But this should be a lot of fun. I have high hopes, obviously, because it's one of my picks.
I think you're right. I think this will do well. They've got so many things that can happen in this. And is this, if it's the future, then where is Oa in all of this? And is there anything in the book to tie future Earth to Oa? I can see that possibly happening.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Alrighty, Mikey.
Okie dokie. So my second book is an Image book, and I am going with Planetoid Praxis #1. This is written and drawn by Ken Gehring, and this is, I don't know how many people are going to remember, but back in 2012, he did a series called Planetoid, and it was just one arc. I want to say 5 issues, but it could have been 6. I just don't remember off the top of my head. And it was the story of a freighter pilot who crash lands on this planetoid, only to find that he's trapped there, and he stumbles across this other group of survivors that have been there for like years and have never been able to figure out a way to get off because there's this like army of robots that are essentially keeping them there. They're destroying any attempts to repair anything. And so he finds the source of it and destroys their power source or whatever, and sets them free. And so this is a sequel. This is the first issue of a sequel to that, set years later, with the folks who are still there. And I really liked the first story, so I'm optimistic about this. I did not know about this until very recently, so I am looking forward to it.
How long a series is this one, Mike? I think I remember six.
6 issues. That's
Okay.
what the note we have says.
Okay.
Sometimes these notes are not exactly accurate, but I think that it makes sense for this to be six issues.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, this would be cool. I'm sure they'll reissue a trade of the original story in time for this to kind of refresh everybody's memory. But
They might. I would hope so.
Yeah, this would be cool. Awesome. And I believe all of us have honorable mentions. So, Wes, your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is Kenneth Graham's book, Wind in the Willows. This is put out by IDW, and this is a rendition of the book by David Peterson, the artist of Mouse Guard. And Wind in the Willows I have read as a much younger person, and this was written in 1908, where Graham was writing to his son, and he started in with characters like Rat and Badger, Mole, and of course Mr. Toad of Toad Hall. It's been done in a cartoon. It's been done as an amusement park ride. So I'm looking forward to this because I think it was either 2 or 3 years that Peterson worked on this to give us the story, and it is complete and unabridged. So I'm really excited to see how this one turns out.
Nice. Said it at the same time.
Sure.
My honorable mention comes from Marvel Comics, and it is the first volume of Daredevil Omnibus, and this collects issues 1 through 41, the first annual, Fantastic Four number 73, and the ever-popular Material from Not Brand Ek number 4. This chronicles the first appearance and origin of Daredevil from the early to mid 60s. It was written by Stan Lee, and you're dealing with the art of Bill Everett, Joe Orlando, Wally Wood, John Romita Sr., and Gene Colan, just to name a few.
Yeah, there's a few names people have heard in there.
Yeah, there's a few names. Frankly, I'm surprised it's taken this long for it to come out. I thought it would have come out a little bit sooner to kind of capitalize on the popularity of the Netflix show. But, you know, I can't complain too much because we're actually getting it. So, hey, I'm happy to have it.
Cool.
Yep.
I'm looking forward for this one, too.
Alrighty, Mikey.
All right, I'm going to beat the drum.
Boom, boom.
The penultimate penultimate, I say, issue of Nailbiter comes out this week. Number 29. I'm going to do this every time until it's gone. Because I'm sad still that it's going away. Damn it. Yeah, so it will be interesting to see how they bring it on home. I am curious.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a nice job of sidestepping with the whole source of the killers thing. And as much as I am sad that the series is going to end, I am looking forward to seeing how.
Yeah, I'm sad to see it go too, but at least it's going out on its own terms.
Right, it's going out the way it should.
Yep.
Now, whether we'll
Agreed.
be mad about it or not is a totally different story. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could definitely see that
as
too.
part of the story. But yeah, next to last one.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Some good choices as always. Any final thoughts before we get into shout-outs and all that?
Nothing springs to mind.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, first off, we want to thank Manny the Martyr for our awesome music for the show, opening and closing and all that. Great group of guys, great music. Definitely check them out. We'll have a link in our show notes, and if you go to our website, www.fellowshipofgeeks.net, go to our podcast page, we have a link to their page as well. Next, we want to thank Potter & Family, hashtag Potter & Family, for all their support. A great group of fellow podcasters who not only spread the word of the fellowship on Twitter, but do that for all brethren and sisters of the Potter family. Great group of people. Was there anybody in particular we want to single out this week, Mikey?
Sure. Let's single out the Epic Film Guys podcast. This is a couple of guys, Nick and Justin, who, well, talk about movies. Like, a lot. Like, they talk about movies like one could almost say in an epic fashion. But I know that's bad. But no, their podcast is a lot of fun. They're very serious about their movies. They are also cut-ups, to say the least. And it's a lot of fun to listen to. So check it out.
Cool. And of course, last but not least, thank you, dear listeners. Thank you for downloading this podcast and other shows in the past. Thank you for listening. We always encourage feedbacks. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, we're always open to it. And best ways to contact us is either via email at thefellowshipofgeeks.net, or you can go to our website, www.thefellowshipofgeeks.net, and go to our About Us page. There is a form there that you can fill out. Of course, you can always follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. That's one word. And as I already mentioned, we are on Twitter, at Fellowship Geeks. Feel free to follow us there. Mikey has his own Twitter page, at Mikey Geek. Go follow him and let him know that we've sent you that way from the podcast. I have one as well, at Tom TC Geek. Feel free to follow me as well. And let us know that you're coming via the podcast. It's always appreciated.
Hell, just say hi.
Yeah, just say hi and just we'll say hi back and say thanks for the follow. So
yeah. Maybe
please
tell us who your favorite villain from the 66 Batman series was.
Yeah, that's one question of the week. Another question of the week is, we are getting prepared for podcast number 50, and we are actually deciding to do a Q&A episode. So if there's any question you would like us to answer, well, within reason,
Or stumble over. If you want to ask us something that you know we'll just sort of, I don't know, we'll make something up.
Right.
It might be fun, you know.
It might be
See
fun.
if you can stump us.
Yeah. Just send us any kind of questions that, you know, whether it's topic suggestions or just any kind of question you want us to answer. Please feel free, either via just through any of those ways that I just mentioned. What else? Oh yeah, please, wherever you download us, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or if you listen to us on our YouTube page, please rate us, and if you have a couple extra minutes, write a review if you like. It would be much appreciated. Let them know what you think about our show. Anything? Did I miss anything? Anything else?
I even tried to derail you, and you still nailed it.
Well,
I swear you're getting good at this. Almost 50 episodes in. And
woohoo!
Apparently that's enough practice, you know.
I guess. I am a slow learner.
That's not where I was going with that, but.
And once again, as mentioned, episode 50, we are doing a Q&A session. So please feel free to send us questions, and we will do our darndest to answer them on our podcast.
Yeah, shoot us a Q, and we'll A it.
Or do our best to A it.
Right.
Whether it's maybe I don't know.
Like I said, if we don't have facts, we'll come up with opinions.
There you go.
We can do that.
That we can.
Any final thoughts before we sign off?
Nothing clean, no.
Okay.
No, just thanks, everybody.
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We do appreciate it. We love you guys. And until next time, read more comics and support your local stores. We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,